I'm back. So I'd like to share something to you. It's someone's analyzation that I had read, and it says America is showing multiple historical precursors to social reordering. But whether that becomes real change depends on whether dissatisfaction becomes coordinated, legible, and attached to an actionable alternative. So what I want to say to that is this is the thing, okay? That's absolutely completely true. We are showing many multiple precursors to historical events. Throughout history, all throughout history, both more recent history, all the way back to almost antiquities. I mean, we can go back to the Romans and we can see where systems just obviously were not working for the people that even if the people didn't hold the power, they were the ones that ultimately are the people you got to keep satisfied. And each time when these things happen, we ended up we had the Roman plebeian secessions, the 5th to the 3rd centuries BCE. I mean the 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 domination politically was too one-sided, and these groups of people kept unanimously pulling their support away, and it ended up creating a new type of government, a new way for them to organize themselves, one that actually worked. And I mean the Chinese, something about a mandate of heaven, basically a civilizational doctrine that said catastrophic misrule is evidence that the system no longer deserves to stand. Well, it's funny because the founding fathers put one of those in the Declaration of Independence, and it had said in the first paragraph, they didn't waste any time on it, that if we don't trust the government, those that are representing us, we are to change or abolish the system. So, I mean, it's effectively the same thing, just, you know, written into our law, into our government, not a civilizational doctrine. I don't really know what kind of civilizational doctrines we really have, especially left. I would say at one point it was definitely a necessity of excellence. That would have been one of our civilizational doctrines, but I really wouldn't believe that that's that way now. But we've got the English civil rule, in the 17th century, that it was just so biased in how everything was being operated that the people just kind of said, "All right, we're done." Of course, the American Revolution. We were being taxed for literally everything because England was trying to fund a war that it was fighting with, I believe it was France, and wasn't doing so hot. And there you go. They ended up taking it out on us. And what happens when it gets so bad that we couldn't ignore it? We did something about it. And I really think that that's where we're at right now, because it doesn't matter what you believe on these stupid little points that they want us to be talking about. Okay. We don't know enough about what's really going on to ever try and fix anything, because until we've got transparency, we're just pissing in the wind, honestly. If we can't look and see what got done when we weren't looking, nothing that they don't want to happen is ever going to happen. And when everybody is sitting here, every time I talk like this to people, I routinely hear, "Oh yeah, but that's just not going to happen." Exactly. Exactly. And even if that's true, even if none of these things that I dream of are ever going to happen, the fact of the matter is they could. We do live in a society, in a world, in a technological marvel of a globe that allows us to communicate just so fast. And when it's when when the thing that could come up, when the thing that could get latched onto, when the line that could end up creating 100 million moments ends up catching its 100 million moments, it will catch them so fast and drive so deep because it is a shared feeling that every single time they meet somebody else who had that same experience, it compounds itself into something that the establishment could never, ever get rid of. This is the type of thing that is going to, because of the beauty of social media. I know it can be the most disgusting of things, but in this aspect, it is the most beautiful because something could get said that everybody in this world hears that goes and gets embedded, and you can't kill that. You could absolutely kill the person who said it, but that's probably the last thing you want to do. So when we've got this kind of an environment, I hate hearing people say, well, that's never going to happen. Yeah, before all of this, you're right. It was absolutely never going to happen. But here we are. It's frickin' working. We've got so much still in our hands for tools to change literally everything that we've got going on. If we want to enact policy, all we've got to do is start finding out why it never works in the first place. Because I can't think of a single program that was sold to us that was supposed to be garbage, but they all seem to be garbage. So why am I going to think that the next person is going to bring up something that's going to work for me? It's not. It's just how it is. Until we've got an environment where they cannot hide in their decisions, that their thought process behind these decisions is plain as day. Until that's going on, and honestly, in that world that I've got worked up in my head, they don't get to make these kinds of decisions. Do we have certain decisions that, have to be made without including everybody if for no other reason, time constraints? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but we can also have doctrine for that. We can also set up standard operating procedures to govern moments like that. We don't have to sit here and hope that they're doing right. Technology is way too good for that. I can sit here and literally waste my entire life with people wasting their entire lives and never be within 1,000 miles of each other. It's insane. So when we live in this kind of a world, we do not have to just sit back and effectively act like children that hope that they're going to decide the best for us when we have watched them do absolutely opposite of that for too many decades. I happen to be 42 years old, and I can remember all the way back about 35 years. My first memory is a little bit earlier than 7, but they're not good ones. Well, not that, any of these ones are necessarily good, but they were like ripping part of my nose off, falling and catching the edge of a table, things like that. But I can remember ever since about 7 years old hearing people say, yep, we're voting for the lesser of two evils. And that never changed. It's what we do today. And that's insane. Don't get me wrong. There's people that are a lot more radicalized on both ends than normal than they have been for my entire political environment life. But that's also why I'm saying a lot of the things I'm saying, is because we are sitting in this situation where it's really, really bad, and we all really, really, really know it. Now, I definitely have some opinions that certain people would say, oh, well, you're just a terrible MAGA freak. Well, the thing is that I'm a pragmatist, and I'm also a federalist. And there are certain things that make sense that they're saying. And, there's certain things that the left say that make sense. It's just because this bipolar necessity that you are either all in or all out is another reason why we're definitely coming to this, because it's so painful just to exist in this environment around other people, because you might say something that this person completely changes their whole opinion on you, not your political beliefs. Because that's the thing. Politics is something that nobody's gotten right. So how in the hell are we going to hate somebody because of how they decide that we should put ourselves together? The only thing that you should end up hating is if they're not willing to talk to you. If they're not willing to actually engage in some meaningful conversation, then, I still don't say you should hate them, but you should definitely try and use some forceful means to keeping them a little bit further away from you, because Someone who's not willing to debate with you and expects you to, sorry, I really shouldn't have had that going, but whatever, I love me some Harley. But, when it comes down to if they're willing to talk to you about their beliefs, this is a good situation. It doesn't matter if anybody changes their beliefs, if anybody agrees on anything. It's the fact that there's dialogue. And that's one of the things that the establishment, in our most horroristic of thought processes for them, does not want us to do. The powers that have nefarious means for us, or ends for us, they do not want us talking. They have made it to where bars or someplace you're not supposed to talk politics. Well, bars have always existed for like literally that. And if we can't use them for such things, I don't really know where else we're supposed to do this. Because if we don't, I'm trying to get rid of that right now. There it is. All right, so that's not going to happen again. But if we can't talk politics and we hate anybody who thinks differently than us, that's a really, really bad situation where we are never going to get anywhere politically, and we're going to never unify and let them fulfill whatever plan they've got going on. The only thing that we need to focus on is transparency. And I'm going to sound like an absolute broken record when it comes to the transparency thing. But if we do that, then we can actually change something. And if in that quote that I had read, America is showing, and I'm not going to really call it a quote, it's just from a paper. America is showing multiple historical precursors to social reordering, but whether that becomes real change depends on whether dissatisfaction becomes coordinated, legible, and attached to an actionable alternative. Well, I am screaming that we coordinate. I do believe that this is legible. And at least I have put in my humble attempt for an actionable alternative. Not only can I verbalize it, but I've written about it. I've got more on the way. I don't know how to put it out there, not what it is, but this is something that we absolutely need to do. We need to make sure that we are here as humanity to capitalize on the greatest opportunity that has been since at least the Civil War. At least for this country. But I think, considering that now, I'm going to call us the only superpower. Now, hear me when I say this. There is a metric on how you determine what a superpower is, or I mean, if a country is a superpower. And one of those is, does it export its ideology? Russia has not for a very, very long time. And China's Belt and Road Initiative has been collapsing for also quite a few years, and that was its attempt to export its ideology. Well, we do export our ideology. And if we change in a way that makes sense, in a common sense way, the rest of the world will know it. And the rest of the world will be able to ask us anything and follow us into the future. This is how a unified world begins. It doesn't begin because governments start to play nice. It begins because the people stop wanting to fight. All right, guys, let's all be the right patriot. Not fight on these stupid lines. Let's be the right patriot. Love you. See ya.